breath control with mixed stuff is really key. Train it non-fatigued, train it slightly fatigued, train it in incremental formats, test it, find out where you sit, go back, train in non-fatigue, raise volume, repeat over and over. I wanted to talk about a couple things for breathing with rowing, less about technique. I really want to think about progressions for individuals in what's beyond technique, in breath control, and how to help that, how to fix that. So I'm going to increase my pace and tell you what it is, and then give you some idea based upon me maintaining sentences throughout the entire time. 148. So let's see if I can have a conversational pace going with 147. Also think about where I'm saying my words. I'm able to talk right here. I'm able to talk right here. A lot more challenging for me to have a discussion in a full extension. So at 148, hope you can see just based upon the practice of it, we're 3 minutes in now, that it's a lot more challenging for me to maintain conversation at that pace. I want to explain the physiology behind it. You probably discovered things like, wow, when I really focus on the screen, when I exhale on my complete drive and on my catch. So it sounds like this. So I'm going at 28 strokes a minute. If you think about that, in 2 breaths per stroke is about 56 breaths per minute. And for ventilation rate, that's a lot different than we see breath rate with kettlebell swings, breath rate with burpees, breath rate with running per unit of time. So it's something to consider when you're starting to improve technique of your breath with rowing. Back to the original point, is that you have to create comfort and control of breath in a non-fatigue state consistently on the rower. So don't allow your improvement in power, improvement in pace to come until you have breath control at that specific pace. So the mistake a lot of people make is just doing a Metcon because they want to practice rowing when they're tired. So 5 rounds, 400 meter row and 12 thrusters and 15 burpees. But their row pace the entire time goes from this, it looks kind of like this in the first 400 meters, to it kind of looks like that in the last 400 meters. So if it's a test and you want to get into fatigue, that's okay, but you're not learning anything about breath control and true capacity. So what you want to do is practice. I love 500s, 500 meter repeats. Why? Because it gets past that point where you have to use O2 efficiently. Shorter intervals, 30, 40 seconds, may not do it repetitively over and over. It's for a different reason. So getting into minute 40, minute 50, 2 minutes, 210, 220, whatever, for your 500s. Rest the same period of time it took you to do the 500 and do it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 times in a workout. Not for volume purposes, but to train your pace and breath at a sustainable rate. Stage 2 would be to add an element to those row repetitions. So doing an opposing action gymnastic activity with rowing would be a great mix then. Something like this. 8 burpees over the rower, 200 meter row, and do it 5 times. And make sure your row pace and breath rate the entire time is exactly the same. Do those 5 rounds for time, rest for 3 minutes, and do that exact piece 3 times. So you're doing 120 burpees in the workout. I think I said 8, 5 times, yeah. You're doing 120 burpees in the workout, but at that point in time, you're now able to add an element to the rowing piece. It's just going to upgrade your ability. When you finish that burpee and come back in the row, your brain is going to say this. Oh yeah, yep, there it is, right there. I know what this feels like. Now I can change my pace and power output relative to what my breath can provide for the work that's being done. So now I've gone from this controlled fashion of breath with row to adding an element to it to challenge that technique of breath with it, but I'm showing sustainability. People just think that, you know, getting to fatigue and figuring shit out for a couple of minutes in a Metcon is good. The only thing that's good for is learning how to get tired in a Metcon. If you only want to make that one Metcon a whole lot better, you got to progress from a non-fatigue state of practice of it into a slightly more fatigued state and practice of it, and then you challenge it. So the way you would challenge that for stage 3 is putting it into tempo scenarios in a fatigue state. So what you're gonna try to do is to do some kind of rowing with other pieces in a 4-time piece in which you're trying to get faster per round. I like to do it in rounds in training purposes because it gets people prepared for that higher power output with repetition of breath. So an example would be 350 meter row, 10 deadlifts, and use 30 to 40% of your 1RM just as a generalized prescription, and then do 10 burpees over the bar. Okay, and your goal after you do that first round of the 350 meter row, 10 deadlift, 10 burpees over the bar, is to come back onto the rower, get locked in, take a couple of strokes, and relax. Right? Just be like, okay, let's get back into this. Okay, now we're back in. All right, now I'm focused. You see that? Took like 4 or 5 little shots at it. Now I'm back into the rhythm. 5 rounds per time. Your goal is to get faster per set. If you allow yourself to practice progressions in just this modality, we're using rower today for that, it'll open up your mind to massive possibilities for improving capacity through breath control. A lot of people say they hate rowing, just like they hate wall balls or hate thrusters. In a lot of cases, they've never practiced it in a non-fatigue state. That is an example itself of my adaptation in 11 minutes to be able to do a slightly faster pace, because my brain, even through the practice of teaching you the 3 stages of implementing rowing and breath, I've gotten a little bit more used to it. Don't allow what's on the screen to dictate what you need to do for power output for the specific workouts. So to recap, if you want to practice that breath control, you got to figure out what's your comfort level for breath rate based upon creating that rhythm in rowing. Because you can't just say, oh fuck it, I'll just get on and just learn how to put up with it. And suffering's only for a very small amount of time. It's to teach you how to get tough, and it's to prepare you for a competition, but it has no place in training for teaching your entire nervous system how to become more aerobic, how to use fuels appropriately. So, last point, no matter what size you are and what makeup, you have to do the best you can be, cliche I know, at the row technique, understanding your best breath rate and understanding how to improve power aerobically in that breath rate, and then add fatigue to that, and then add incremental training to it. Get good at it. The worst thought process is for you to say, oh shit, that person's bigger and more fit, they're gonna maintain a 143 for that row, that's what I need to do. No, you know what you can do because the training has led to that. Breath control with mixed stuff is really key. Train it non-fatigued, train it in slightly fatigued, train it in incremental formats, test it, find out where you sit, go back, train in non-fatigue, raise volume, repeat over and over, and recognize you need to do what you need to do on the rower, play your own game, run your own race, and then you'll improve it. That's it for today.